What's up, everyone, and bonjour. Today I want to talk about the context of my kill with Aberroth on Magic Gear and give you a bit of a rundown of the build. So it all started with actually Jews making videos on Falconer Dive-Bomb. I've always been a fan of the build of Dive-Bomb. I played it a lot when Falconer got released. And yeah, I was really glad that it was hitting this amount of damage. I was surprised a bit, but yeah, I wanted to explore the build, see in details what was actually giving it that much damage. That's usually what I like to do, except for like leveling, speedrunning, that kind of stuff. I don't particularly create content around that, but I like in my free time dissecting like builds, trying to see like what works, how much of the damage is coming from a particular part of a build. And that's what I did with Dive-Bomb this time. So it was actually dealing a lot of damage, but I was surprised it wasn't using like explosive trap because it was kind of like a staple of Dive-Bomb. So I thought maybe it was worse, than just his setup. But I got surprised that it's actually like close to 10 or even 20 times because it's a ramping build. I don't really know how high this build scales at the maximum, but it was dealing 10 to 20 times the damage of his build. And yeah, I don't fully understand why. There might be a bug with the CDR recovery shenanigan going on. Yeah, that's one part of the build. I wanted to showcase it in like a cool way. So I started doing like normal Aberroth on Magic Gear, and I killed it in like 20 seconds, I believe. And then I thought, what about Aberroth? Can I do it also on very low gear? So I started doing it with rare gear. I killed it pretty easily, like second or third try. Then I was like, okay, let's do it on Magic Gear for the memes. And yeah, 200 or so tries after that, I ended up killing it. So you can check the VOD on Twitch, by the way. I can put it in the description. You're gonna see me rage like for 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. Well, that was pretty fun. That was like a side project. So I did it in offline, by the way. I saw some comments like about editing gear, that kind of stuff. Guys, I'm not gonna craft that gear on online. It's pretty annoying. Like having to craft rare gear like that with perfect rolls. It's super annoying, especially like, for example, this quiver. So yeah, I didn't do it in online just for the gear generation because I have like a Falconer level 100. Not this season, but I mean, also I'm thinking about that as I make the video, but offline obviously doesn't have the lag, that kind of stuff. So I guess offline is a bit better for doing this. But when I'm doing it, there's no difference between online and offline. Like, effectively, it's just setting up the character. Like, it's just getting that gear, right? So that's why you see, like, gear with 255 forging potential. It is what it is, guys. Okay, how the build works in actual gameplay. You're gonna press Dive Bomb, Smoke Bomb, Aerial Assault, and Explosive Trap. So you spam them all the time. That's what you do. That's the gameplay loop. A quick precision about Smoke Bomb. Smoke Bomb is going to generate shadows, which is in turn going to be able to proc the Shadow Falcon from Dive Bomb, which is your main source of damage. Super important, you want the boss or the target in the middle of the Smoke Bomb. Like, if I put a Smoke Bomb here and then one here, the shadows are gonna be generated maybe like close to the bottom left corner of my screen and then on top right of my screen, because the two don't like perfectly align. You want to have them as compact as possible. That's the idea. And this allows the Shadow Falcon to hit the target and actually deal the damage. Otherwise, you won't deal as high damage. And the damage is not going to ramp super high. So that's how it works. I just aim at the target. And I keep those four 4 button pressed all the time. And you see how the health of the dummy is going down faster and faster. This is what I was talking about ramping. This early on, the damage is not super high, but then it ramps, and then it goes to crazy level. So this is with magic gear, right? No blessing, no idol. So that's the gameplay loop. Now, about the build itself, like how you spec the skills, because this is where the magic happens. You can call that magic. So I'm gonna start with Juice setup and what I changed. So dive bomb, you want to scale the damage with the Umbral Blades. That's what popularized Juice with dive bomb. So you want to generate the Umbral Blades with Aerial Assault, thanks to this node, Twilight Strike. So you generate 6 Umbral Blades by default, but with Razorfall, the boots, if you have a lot of dexterity, which you do for the build, you are going to generate between 16 to 18 Umbral Blades. So that's going to increase the damage of your Shadow Falcon by quite a lot, because they have reduced damage, by the way. They have 70% less damage to them. And you also disable the Traversal tag of Aerial Assault. This makes Aerial Assault super fast to cast, because if you have the Traversal tag, the animation is a bit long. So you can spam Aerial Assault, you can spam Dive Bomb, and something else in the meantime. What I changed is, instead of whatever he was using, I used Explosive Trap, because Explosive Trap is kind of a staple of Dive Bomb, so I tested it, right? And Explosive Trap, the good part about it is that it, with the bottom right node that I'm hiding a bit with my cam, it reduces the cooldown of your Falcon skills by 3% whenever a trap explodes. So the goal here is to maximize the amount of trap that explode while still able to maintain mana, because my mana cost is 26.5. And I'm going to go into details on how I sustained my mana. But I go for max mana cost, basically. I take everything that is going to increase the amount of trap exploding. So +2 trap here, 3 traps there, thanks to this node. So I'm at 6 traps, and then I can make them redetonate. So I have a 100% chance here. This cannot reproc by itself, but this can reproc multiple times. So you kind of have RNG on how many times it reprocs. So that's already like 12 plus some more if you're lucky, from one cast. And then this makes the trap that reprocs go towards the enemy directly. So yeah, if the enemy moves a bit, it goes directly to it. And this makes it so that it scales with bow and it becomes a bow attack. So I can cast it super fast because I have a lot of bow attack speed, sorry. I don't have to scale throwing attack speed. How I sustain mana with this is with Aerial Assault, Dive Bomb, and Falconry. Falconry has mana gain per 40 total attributes. And if you look here, I have 160 attributes, so that's 4 mana per Falcon hit. Dive Bomb, 8 mana gain on boss or rare hit. So if I'm not attacking a boss or a rare, I'm not sustaining the mana, by the way. But you don't need to cast Explosive Trap on like regular mobs, to be fair. And then Dive Bomb, not Dive Bomb, Aerial Assault. At the bottom, middle, you have missing mana recovered when you use Aerial Assault, and you use it all the time. And same for Dive Bomb. So those nodes proc all the time. You also have cooldown recovered on Falcon hit for Aerial Assault. So my Dive Bomb recovers the cooldown of my Aerial Assault, and my Aerial Assault recovers the cooldown of Dive Bomb, thanks to this node that scales with your mana. So yeah, that's it. In Falconry, not crazy, nothing crazy here. You scale the flat damage here, mana. Here you get attack speed. I could even remove 1 point here because 40% is a bit too high. I could put it either on attack speed or element conversion. This is super OP. This is good for damage. This is also good for damage. Crit conversion, so 50% of your crit stats are converted to the Falcon. The crit multi, the one that I'm hiding with my cam, is not working with that build because we're using Explosive Trap as a bow ability. Even a throwing ability wouldn't really work for the build. And Dive Bomb is a melee attack. So this converts your crit multi with whatever skill you're using. So if it's a bow attack, it converts your bow crit multi to bow crit multi for the Falcon. And the Falcon uses melee attack. Dive Bomb is a melee attack. So you need to use a melee attack for this to be worth it. So yeah, it's a bit confusing. I don't know why they did it that way. But yeah, if it was working with like bow attack and it was giving like generic crit multi for the Falcon, this would actually double or triple our damage in an in-game setup. And yeah, that's it. Smoke Bomb, I went for the Shadow Generation. For the Traversal node, it divided the cooldown by 2. It also makes you immune during the movement. The Silver Shroud, the Cleanse. I could have went also for the Dust Shroud. I didn't do it because I was testing stuff, but it would obviously be better for what I was doing. Passive tree, we want as much dex. So I took all the dex nodes. They're all maxed out. A bit of attack speed here and here. So attack faster with Explosive Trap. Area, super important area for Dive Bomb. So the Shadow Falcon actually hit the mob that you're attacking. Here, the throwing damage conversion. So you convert 50% of your flat throwing damage into the Falcon melee damage. A bit of Silver Shroud generation every 10 seconds. Falcon ability are instant cast. So this is for Dive Bomb to be instant cast, so it doesn't interrupt everything else that you're doing. Crit multi. You convert a portion of your crit avoidance to crit multi. And then it's just increased dodge. So I went dodge rating for fighting the boss. So I have all the increased dodge rating that I could take. So here, here, here. Is there another one? Here, yeah. And then it's just generic notes. So this is crit, this is the flat damage. I mean, this is just like what you would usually do. And this on top of it to sometimes proc the buff. To get even more flat melee damage to the Falcon. So yeah, everything combines to deal insane amount of damage. On my gear, nothing surprising. Bunch of dex. Those two bases are super insane because dex plus flat damage. This bow, not this bow, this quiver to get crit multi. Not crit multi, bro. I can't speak. Crit vulnerability. So it's 20% extra crit for the Falcon. And then cooldown recovery speed on rings, belt, and boots. And then dodge rating, throwing damage. And then on the bow, the hybrid stat with crit chance, bow attack speed, and flat melee damage for the bow, for the minion. And that's it. That's how I deal with the damage. That's how the damage ramps to crazy numbers. I suspect there might be a bug with the cooldown recovery, or cooldown recovered, where it's recovering too much cooldown, or there's something going on. Like, it doesn't make sense that the damage is so high. Yeah, for endgame, quick recommendation: if you were to do this build as an endgame build, obviously Razor Fall is a staple of the build. Talon of Valor as a bow, because it gives cooldown recovered 25% of one of your Falcon skill every second. 100 melee for flat damage for the Falcon, and +4 to Dive Bomb and Falconry and Aerial Assault. So Falconry, you don't really care, it's more about Dive Bomb. Aerial Assault is also a bit less important. Mostly Dive Bomb that is super important. And then we have the new amulet, the Weaver's Will amulet, that convert the stat of the amulet and multiply it by 2 and give it to the Falcon. So you want to have on this amulet crit multi, because you have very limited sources of crit multi for the Falcon. And then the new idols, the 1x1 penetration, if you care about damage. Otherwise, you can do literally whatever you want. Honestly, on this build, if I were doing an endgame build, I would build for defense. Like, I wouldn't even care about damage, because damage is free. Like, you don't care about damage on this build. You have a few key pieces of item, like the Razorfall Boots, Talon of Valor, but everything else, you can do whatever you want. You can go super tanky, as much as you can. And yeah, that's the build. I think, from what I read on Reddit, they are gonna cap or do something to the Umbral Blade node and on Explosive Trap for the cooldown recovery. So I don't know if this season they're gonna nerf it, but next season it's gonna be nerfed like 100%. So yeah, profit, do whatever you want, and yeah, thanks again to Juice for highlighting this build. It was pretty cool. And yeah, if you have any question, feel free to tell me in the comment section. I'm gonna do my best to respond to each one of them. And yeah, bye guys.